Hi, and welcome to Dia de los Devs. Before we begin this panel, I just wanted to point out this came from a harebrained scheme of mine to have a Latinx panel, not just focus on our oppression, but more or less our successes in tandem with our cultura. And with that said, my name is Rabecca, and Jenn, take it away.
Thanks, Becca. No, but it really is awesome and a privilege to be talking to a whole bunch of Latinas because I'm from Texas. And so I love Seattle, don't get me wrong. The rules, liberation, everything. It just is lacking seriously in my culture. And growing up in South Texas, so close to Laredo, and I was born in San Antonio, I didn't realize how much I was going to miss it until it was gone. And so this makes me happy that we all just sat and talked for 30 minutes really loudly and at each other, because that was good to my heart. So thank you guys so much for being you. So we're going to go around, and whoever wants to start. Anna, would you like to go first?
Ooh. Sure.
Okay.
Anna Lydia Ochoa-Monaco. I'm a filmmaker from Los Angeles.
Yay.
And if you could give your pronouns as well as your title, that'd be great. Thanks.
Oh, great. So she, her, and I'm a filmmaker, writer, director, producer.
Yeah. Woohoo. Darshichi, would you like to go?
Yeah, I'll go next. Hi, everyone. I am Darshichi. I am a variety streamer and content creator. Afro-Latina, and she, her, they, them.
Awesome. And Javiera?
Hi, my name is Javiera Cordero, and my pronouns are she, her. I work as an associate producer in the video game industry.
Awesome. And Jazmin?
Hello, my name is Jazmin Cano, or Jazmin Cano, depending on who you are. I'm a project manager at High Fidelity, and I focus on accessibility. Oh, and my pronouns are she, her.
That's awesome. So as you can see, this is exciting. We have so many great and amazing people here, and we're all of Latinx heritage, which is great, which is awesome. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. It's, well, not show, but stream show. And so I would like, anytime you guys want to answer, just raise your hand or put up a finger or just butt in. And then if someone's talking, I just ask that no one interrupts. But I have a question for you guys. Dun, dun, dun. Who wants to go first? Anna? I saw your hand move.
They don't. So the first question would be, what has been your most recent success? Your project, movies, games, etc.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm really excited. Really excited, if I can emphasize that again, that I was hired by Casanova McCann, one of the largest Latina-owned advertising agencies in the country, to write, direct, and produce a campaign in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month and work alongside Flora Arredondo, an artist. Huge campaign. I don't know if you guys know, but the number of women in advertising is minimal. Latinas, especially Mexican Americans, are literally non-existent. And the fact that I got the opportunity to direct and write and produce something of this magnitude, I will forever, ever be grateful to Ingrid Otero Smart, another badass, amazing Puerto Riqueña, who actually gave me the opportunity because she saw my film, Lola, which is now in the film festival circuit, and we've gotten into more than 15 festivals so far. So she saw that film, and because of that, I was given that opportunity to do this other thing, and now, the opportunity to hopefully bid on other, national commercial projects as well. So it's a huge win, not just for me, but for everybody that's involved, especially Flora, like a young up and coming Latina artist, to do something like this and, to have her story documented for the rest of history. It's such a big deal. and especially launched during Hispanic Heritage Month. So I'm so honored and I'm so proud. And, you know, I am standing on the shoulders of all of you and so many other people that because you guys are amazing, then the rest of us are given this opportunity.
Yes, that's thank you. Thank you. Jazmin, would you or Javiera or Darshiji, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I could go next.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Jazz.
Yeah, so this was fun to think about the question of like what has been one of my most recent successes. And I'm going to say the accessibility work I did. So at High Fidelity, we have an app called Spatial Stand-Up. You can get it on Slack, and it's basically like a meeting room for stand-up meetings. And it has our 3D audio, which if you haven't heard it, like you should check it out. We have a demo on our website. And it sounds so cool because it sounds like you're in the room with the people on the call, like directionally. So like for me, Rebecca's over here, like if we were in that 3D audio, I could hear her here and I can hear everyone in different places. So that's cool. The success though, I want to give some context on. So for months, I've interviewed people of many backgrounds who have different disabilities to get feedback and co-design with. That was done through a company called Fable, and together with them and our designer, Alan Zimmerman, we've been able to make this app like so accessible to a number of assistive technologies. And I know this because of these tests I run where it surveys people at the end. It's like, is it easy or difficult? Is it accessible or not? Early on, we had a lot of issues, but that's, you know, how it goes in the beginning. And the surveys now, like the latest one I was looking at, it says like we're very easy and has great accessibility. And that's like a lot of work I've done with these folks. And it's been really something I'm super proud of because I know how hard it is for websites to be no, that's not the right wording. I know how hard it is for people with disabilities to access websites because a lot of work needs to be done still. So knowing that we're out there with a lot of improvements and like active work being done, I'm so proud of that.
I used to teach in life skills, which is a SPED class in Texas, where I worked with children who have severe disabilities. Some were seeing impaired, some were hearing impaired. Many of them were stricken to wheelchairs. So I greatly appreciate your work, 100%, because it is very frustrating to be able to find out there's not that much accessibility for you, especially on the internet. Yeah, it's really like, but thank you for thinking of them, and thank you for doing your amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Javiera, would you like to go next?
Yeah, about recent successes.
Yes, please.
I mean, honestly, I think like the most recent success for me has just been getting my like first proper salaried game industry job. And not at just one company, but two. And working at this Unity tools developer full-time, and then doing contract work around 10 to 20 hours a week at this indie studio. And just feeling very fortunate to be in a position where I can help set a lot of processes around operations for the companies, so that like in all the ways that I, as an individual, have felt not held by a company, I can have a hand in designing processes and designing onboarding and hiring. And so it's just really exciting to sort of finally have some platform for that.
That's so, yes. Yeah. To like shop from the window tops, you're doing something you've always wanted to do. That's amazing. Good job. Yay. This makes me excited. I love hearing of other people's achievements. Darshiji, would you please answer the question of your most recent success?
For me, I had to think about this because like as a content creator, you're just so used to hearing the no's, like kind of like you don't really get a lot of time to sit with the yeses. It's like you get the yes, okay, now we have a project. What's the timeline? How long do we have until we need to engage and all of that stuff. But for me, I would want to say it's been it was joining the Black Girl Gamers. They are a huge stream team, but they are also active on Twitter and Instagram, and they uplift, like they make sure we all have a seat at the table. And the fact that I was able to get into like a team like that just really meant a lot to me. And then add to the fact of all the wonderful like content creators that are on the team who I can just be like, hey, I was in your stream the other day. You know that cool little thing you did with your lights? How did you do that? And them actually being gracious and be like, I got you. Here's the link, how you set it up. If you need something, like, let me know. So it's definitely been joining the Black Girl Gamers.
That's awesome. I feel like that with Geek Girl. Like when I got here, it's the same feeling. When you move somewhere new or you're in a new area, you're like, I'm weird. No one's going to want to do anything. But then you like find your group and you're like, yeah, I'm not weird alone. This is amazing. Well, I'm weird. That was my personal experience. So sorry guys, I am reading the questions, but I want you guys to just like hands up or whatever if you want to answer first. As a teacher, I don't like to pick too many at the same time as first, second, third, or fourth. Sorry. So the next question is, what was your biggest lesson coming up in your field as a Latina or Latinx or as /Latinx? Think on it.
I'll take this one if no one minds. So I'm a lot more like down, I would say down to earth. Like I try and do as minimal work as I can, but get as maximum result out of it as possible. And so I have a certain way I like to do things, and going through this industry, you're going to deal with a lot of people who like what you do, who don't like to what you do. But for me, the biggest lesson was someone's always going to say something about what you do. It could be about your hairstyle. It could be about what you said. It could be about like something going on in your background. People will always say something about it. And it's like, you kind of have to file that however you wish, of like, you know, let me take this piece of whatever commentary, advice, and is there something in it that I can learn? Because they said this for a reason. Like whether it is because they're a hater or whether it is because they are trying to make a suggestion that can make my content better, someone's always going to say something, and it's up to you how you are going to take that information and either become better than you were or just, you know, throw it straight in the trash. So that was like the biggest thing for me, was like, man, someone always got something to say about what I'm doing.
I almost said, right? Like, geez. I think as humans, we can all relate to that statement. And honestly, I mean, one of the big things about GeekGirlCon that I love is that, you know, you accept everybody, and having like, I have major anxiety and PTSD. So like when my biggest fear is being rejected. So hearing you say that actually was like, no, you can get over it. Just listen to them. You got this. Like, down, just do it. So now Geek Girl is going to hear about all kinds of weird ideas. Thank you.
Worst
so
anyone
much for
could
that.
say is no, you know?
Right? And just give you that look like, no. Who would like to go next? Are you guys gonna make me be the teacher and call names?
I'll go next. Yeah. So when I got into film school, because film school is my second degree, I have a marketing degree and fashion marketing degree, and that's what I did.
Oh no, freezing.
To apply, went back to school to apply to go into, you know, whatever film school accepted me, and I had my choice, and I picked Art Center College of Design, which you all know is like the top design school in the world. And as the only Mexican American that got accepted into the program, I was hungry to meet other Latinos of any background, whether they immigrated to the US, whether they were born here, whether they were Chicanos or Mexican American or from South America. I just wanted to meet all the Latinos, and I just had this like idea in my head that we were all going to get along, and that we were all going to hang out, and that we were all going to join forces and make some amazing films, because we're all Latinos, and we were like, you can count us on two hands, right? I learned very quickly that sometimes your biggest allies and sometimes your best friends and collaborators are not Latinos, and they do not look like you. and they don't have the same experiences as you. And being closed-minded to, I only want to hang out with other Latinos and I only want to work with other Latinos would have really limited what I was able to do, not just in film school, but beyond. Because the first person that hired me after film school was one of my professors, and she's an African-American woman. The second professor that hired me is a white woman. The third professor that hired me was a white man. So none of them were Latinos, you know, and it's not a bad thing to collaborate with other people. And it's not a bad thing to try to join forces with other people and make your, like Javiera, it's bringing in people from different cultures and backgrounds to the work that he does. I do that as well. Like all of my sets are multicultural because of these amazing people that have opened their doors to me. You will never walk onto one of my sets and they're all Latino. You know, though it's multicultural. My sets, my work looks like the world outside of my door, which is mixed. And if I hadn't done that, I think I would be in an entirely different place. So I'm beyond grateful to all these amazing men and women that allowed me to join forces, that believed in me, and that tried to understand what it's like to be, you know, someone over 30 going back to school and starting a new career that happens to be Latina, that happens to be Mexican American. And, you know, that was a really hard lesson, because literally none of the Latinos in my school and I, except for one, and he's in Mexico, connected or did any work together.
Yeah, that's a really good lesson, actually. I grew up in a small town, much like that felt like the film industry, because everyone knew everything. Both of my brothers have blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm a mix. So there was always that, like, because I'm the darker one, I got a bunch of racism, but also I wasn't quite Latina enough. So I've always believed in mixed cultures. I love them so much. I don't want to have, like, I want everyone in there like a great stew. And then we all just have that warm feeling when we get together. I totally understand. Absolutely. It's just the world. I mean, look at our panel. We're all Latinos and yet we're all so different. Just like physically look at us, we're all so different. And I think that, you know, it's impossible to try to connect. I mean, like I went in there bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. All of us Latinos are gonna love each other. And I mean, literally, that was probably one of the dumbest things I ever thought in my life. Like, literally, I look back, instead of like, let me meet some really cool people that have things in common with me. Let me meet some really cool people who want to do the kind of shit that I want to do. And then maybe they want to do something entirely different for me, but let me see how I can help them. So I needed to go through that ridiculous thought process in order to really appreciate, you know, how much everyone can bring to your work, regardless of their background or in spite of their background, because of their background. It's one of the best things ever to open yourself up to other people. That's a good comparison too, because it makes me think of like the first time, like being friends with all the females didn't work out for me. And I was like, those wow.
Times, right? Yeah.
So totally
bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and it's like that it smacks you in the face like, we have nothing in common other than we're females.
And that's cool. Yeah. I'm just gonna go this way.
I do want to call it out that we refer to them as women, not females. Just careful with that terminology. But yeah.
Sorry. Did I say something? Sorry. I didn't mean females. Women.
Sorry. Same.
I didn't know if we said something. Sorry. Jazmin, would you like to go next? Okay.
Heck yeah. So first I want to say I'm from Hayward, California, and that's one of the most diverse cities in the whole country, which I recently learned. What a privilege it is to be from such a place where like everyone is like all my best friends growing up and we are all so different. And it was like that through school and even college. But then once I started working in tech and VR, the diversity like didn't exist like it did in my life until that moment. And that kind of changed how I moved in the world. Like I said earlier, my name's Jazmin or Jazmin. I started becoming uncomfortable saying my name, Jazmin, So I switched to Jazmin, which I totally love. I'm comfy with. I still prefer that for most folks. But yeah, so working in a place where it's not super diverse, it kind of made me like wonder how should I navigate my career and like talk to people I work with and stuff. And for some reason, like I think it's a lot of the diversity panels that made me think my mentors should look like me and like go talk to people who are doing the work that I'm doing or want to do. But I learned that's not the case all the time. Like I said, diversity is great. And I've had so much support from people who don't look like me, who are not like me. So as Anna mentioned, sometimes our biggest allies don't look like us. Sometimes they may not be doing the work in the exact same area. Huge lesson. So like I got in this role last year and I was so hesitant like for weeks. I was like, I want to say no because I'm scared. Imposter syndrome hit me so hard. And it wasn't until management and coworkers of mine at High Fidelity continued to encourage me like every day and like push me to just do it. Like they trusted me. And like that's another lesson I learned is like to trust people who trust me. They believed I could do it. So I was like, okay, yes, even though I was scared. And I love it. I love helping people. And my job's a lot of, helping people. So yeah, just got to trust those who want me to succeed. And I never anticipated that in this career, but now I expect it moving forward.
That's such a positive one too. Like, yes, I love that energy. Thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Javiera?
I think for me, like one of the most profound things has been to realize that like oftentimes the support or direction or leadership that I'm looking for is not out there. And sometimes I have to be that. And I have to stand alone and I have to sort of like use like my wisdom and my morals to guide me to figure out like what a solution might be. And so I think that's probably been one of the biggest things that I've discovered in the past like 8 months that I've been working is just being critical of my questions and who I'm asking them to, and to sometimes maybe just check in and see, should I just be asking this question to me? And should maybe I give myself the space to answer that question or to come up with that answer? Because I didn't grow up around a lot of Latinx community through because of domestic violence and economic displacement. I was always sort of placed inside white communities and didn't have any kind of strong any type of Latinx presence outside of my immediate mom and my brothers and sisters. But we sort of always centered back to us and used like what's going to work for us and what feels good for our situation, and sort of turning that compassion outward and seeing where I can help other people. That's probably been the biggest thing for me.
That's awesome. Yes, I love that. And it's, yeah, I feel like that's a really good, amazing reason. When I first moved here, I wanted something where I could help others because I wasn't just like who I was. And that's why I joined Geek Girl, because I could talk about all my mental illnesses on here. And it might actually help someone. Or like, I have a really hard time with like people and reading people. And so it's made me want to like ask people more questions. So like, I feel, yeah, I heart that so much. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
I love what you said, ask people more questions. Yes.
Yeah, it's hard. People don't understand how hard it is. Especially, yeah, it is for me anyways. And confrontation, it's awful. But yeah.
I think that like a lot of like this like unspoken doctrine with patriarchal thought and systems and in expectations is that like we are not allowed to be wrong, and that we should not seek help, and that we should always have the right answer ready right at the moment of asking. And
we shouldn't get nervous. We shouldn't have any of these negative feelings. Like you should just be this sack of skin, and you have to look certain ways and fall in these categories, or it doesn't work. Or at least that's some deep philosophical coming from me. But yes, that's exactly, no, I get it. So my last question, I'm gonna kind of put 4 and 5 into one because I really want Rabecca to get to ask their questions. So one, which is one of my favorite questions, is what are the ways in which you've been drawn from your own cultural experience and applied that to your work? And how do you ensure that you're not the only Latinx in the room? Javiera, you went last, so now you go first.
Yeah, and so, gosh, which of those? Can I answer both?
Yes, both of them.
Okay, so I think like to the first one, the biggest thing that I've sort of drawn from my own cultural experience has been just the application of like ruthless, persistent joy in the face of overwhelming resistance. Like, and a lot of that has just come from like Puerto Rican heritage and like what like my people have gone through and what we are going through still, and that there is like just systemic injustice all around, but that it can't stop you. And that like, at the very least, you have to have your own back. And that also means just being like trying to root yourself in joy, like when you are trying to accomplish something, and to center on that, it has like really just profoundly changed my life. I'm in a different place, even just in the last 3 months alone. And then to the question of like, how do I make sure that I'm not the only like Latina or Latinx in the room, has been to try to vigorously ask my network, like, what are the diverse communities that you are aware of? And through that process, I've like come to know a ton of other Latinas who work in the game industry, and a really incredible person, Sara Machado. She has a spreadsheet of over like 80 communities that are like diverse organizations. And so at both my jobs where we have job openings, like I'm always making sure that as much lead time as possible, getting those job postings out in front of those communities with a channel to get back directly to me, and making sure that I make the time and make the space to give like direct, equitable support to those communities, so that if there's a person who's maybe on the fence and they're like, oh, I don't know if I have enough experience for this role, like making sure that like the job description aligns with the actual needs of the job posting, instead of what a lot of companies will do is to default on an already existing job description for that post, and then they'll just snatch it. They do this, big companies do this, they snatch it and replace the name. But instead, like really, as much as I can, thoughtfully challenging leadership to be, well, what do we actually need for this role? And let's lead with that. And then just trying as much as possible to catalog my learnings around that, and share that with other people at other studios so that they can do the same.
That's awesome. Yes, spread the word. Yeah, no, that's so good. A friend recently told me kind of the same thing, because they're looking for more Latinas here in Seattle. And I was like, I don't know, I wish there was like a Facebook of all like, you know, BIPOCs, and we can just find each other. Because I feel like the word just doesn't get out enough about certain events or certain jobs or certain opportunities. And it should be one of those things that everybody can get to. Darcici, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect.
So this question was, I want to say, probably the hardest one I had to answer, because I'm continually a part of a journey to like find what my culture means to me, because I have both. I am Black, I am Hispanic. And I grew up in the 90s, where if you were different in any way, shape, or form, you know, they were going to let you know about it. They were going to bully you about it, you know, got into a couple of fights about it. But add on top of that, I am from Los Angeles, LA all day. I grew up in the hood. So like all of that combined is just kind of like, I got street smarts, you know, if an opportunity comes across my desk, I'm gonna be like, hey, have you heard of this organization? Hey, have you heard of this? Like, what do you know, actually asking questions about things like that. And so that street smart kind of just helps me kind of weed out what I view as the seedier like offers that comes across my mailbox, because everybody wants to come into your mailbox, in your emails, in your DMs. And you're like, hi, I've never said anything to you ever. Nice to meet you. So that's definitely has helped. And since I am part of the Black Girl Gamers, I have been able to create really great content with other creators from like Ghana, from Louisiana, from New York, from Japan. Like they're just all across the UK. There are just so many people. But one thing that I've had conversations about that's really like kind of like made me take aback is like, I don't feel Black enough sometimes. I don't feel Hispanic enough sometimes. And it's like, who's telling me that these things, you know? And that's the hardest thing. And talking to other content creators, and they have that same thing. It doesn't matter if they're in Ghana. It doesn't matter if they're in Louisiana. If you feel like that imposter syndrome, or that you yourself are inadequate in some way, whether or not that thought comes from within you or from society, it affects you. And I've been seeing it over and over again. So like I work with other creators and we have these conversations, we have these shows, we talk about these things. And I just make sure that my platform is inclusive in a way that I'm going to, you know, go out and talk to the creators I associate with. I'll talk to random streamers that I don't associate with, you know, like, and just do the best that I can to surround myself with creators of color and of different ethnicities, different background, binary, non-binary, and asexual, demisexual, doesn't matter. If we vibe, we vibe. And I want that on my platform because I want us all to be able to stand on that platform. So if I hear a job opportunity, hey, this sounds like something that you mentioned that you do music, right? Hey, you do art. This is like an art posting. It sounds like what you'd be interested in. Or if you can pass that along, like I've created Discord channels, like, and just like, here's a bunch of job postings that I found. You guys
That's awesome.
Over there, right? And different bots. So it's a lot of different things. And it's kind of like combining that with the things that I do and those who I surround myself with, I feel like we're a powerhouse.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That sounds like a great Discord to be part of too. Anna or Jazmin? Anna, you want to go next? Okay.
I can go next.
Oh, okay, yeah, Jazmin, go for it.
I was just finding the unmute button.
Oh.
Yeah, so in which ways do we draw from our cultural experience and apply that in our work? When I think about culture, I think about my family, my upbringing, and specifically my grandma, my abuelita. Our family has always been a group of people who help others, like whether it's money, food, you know, health, anything. They're just like, we're here to help. So my abuelita was a doctor in her pueblo in Mexico, and the family house was like literally the hospital because there weren't hospitals, if that makes sense. And she helped everyone who came through, like no matter who they were, if they had money or not. Like she never judged people and learned from everyone who came through. And like there's even been moments where I'm with her like at the grocery store, at the mall, and people recognize her here in California from that little town, and they're like, oh my God, Doña Mati, or like Señora Matilde, and it's like, oh my God, my grandma's famous. But it's because she's so helpful and generous. So she's one of the most generous people I know, and she had hella kids. So I was raised with a family who's like super helpful, and that's why I have that in my heart. Like I want to help people when I can. And that's why like my jobs, including this one I have right now, which is focused on accessibility. I ask myself, like, what can I do to help? What can I do to make things more inclusive, more accessible, more delightful? I'm pretty sure if you search in my like Slack history, how can I help? I've like written that like a billion times. So
That's a good question though.
yeah. So I make sure to raise other people's voices when it comes to designing products, website creation, and all their feedback. I work on making sure people who use our products have a say because they use them, so we should listen to them. People have different experiences and perspectives, and we learn so much from conversations like these. So accessibility work really helps people in more ways than we think. So I combine the love for helping with that.
That's like a perfect pairing cook show. So it was just wonderful. It's like, yes, that's true. All of that is so true. Like, so there's so many high schools without buttons to open the front doors in South Texas. Like, it drove me nuts. Like, we didn't, I could go on and on about this, but I'm not going to because this is a happy chat.
Anna, another time.
Yeah, another time. Anna, would you like to go last, please?
Yeah, sure. So how do I draw from my cultural experience and apply it to work? I mean, literally, that's the reason I went and applied to film school, is because I was so appalled about the representation of women, especially Latinas in media and people of color. So because I didn't see what was out there, literally somebody dared me. They're like, well, if you don't like what you see, then do something about it. And I'm like, well, then I guess I'm going to go to film school. Literally, did I not know how expensive, how hard. I mean, it's more difficult to get into film school than it is to get into medical school, believe it or not. There's less schools, there's less, seats available. And then once you get in, it's the process of, making the stories and doing them well enough to to inspire other people, teach them, show them a door, give them a door to a different world, show them a window to their own, to their own experiences as well. And making sure that the experiences that the experiences and the stories that I focus on are not what you currently see. So all my stories are uplifting Latino stories. They all have a positive message and done in a beautiful way. Like somebody actually today told me, I can always tell it's your work because it looks like a painting. It's so beautiful. And that's my style. It's not gritty. It's not dark. It's not trauma porn, poverty porn, immigration porn. I don't touch any of that. So that is what I draw upon, is what I don't see is what I want to see and what I crave to see. I crave to see biracial, bicultural, BIPOC stories that are not made for the white gaze, that are made by us, for us, and then they will ultimately reach more people because they're nuanced and they're authentic and they're not done with the intention of feel sorry for me. Instead, it's, can you relate to this particular struggle? Because obviously every movie, like, you have to have some kind of struggle, but is this a relatable struggle to more people than, my 20 friends that are going to watch my film? Is this something that more people are going to believe in, root for the main character, trust that, the story is something that could be, something that they can feel deep in their soul. So that is something that I can't not bring to the table when I do my work. I have to do that because that's who I am. That's what I want to see. That's why I went back to film school, and I'm in debt $150,000. So I'm taking donations at this time. If you guys want to PayPal,
drop the Venmo, drop the Venmo in the chat.
Literally why I do it. Drop the Venmo, literally pay for my student loans. In order to work, I have to also, walk the talk. And if I want to make diverse stories, then I better bring diverse storytellers with me that are interested in doing this type of work. How I do it, like Javiera explained it very well. If you know of someone that has a list, that knows of people, that is connected, you let them know this job is available. And you send it to them first. And then you give the time and the opportunity to these diverse filmmakers, diverse creatives, to read through their material first, to look at their resume first. If somebody's almost there. I had someone send me their resume and they're like, I'm an artist, I'm a creator, I'm a this, I'm a that. She had like 5 different things on her resume. And I called her and I said, listen, no one's going to hire you unless you focus your resume. So that may mean that you have 5 different resumes. So make the time to also give advice to people that are almost there. You know, if you make a little bit of money, every time I get a check from one of my projects, I'll put it on Twitter like, hey, got paid. Like, who needs to go for coffee? Who needs, you know, to enter a contest? Who needs to do this? Like, pay it forward, you know, like, yeah, I love buying stuff for myself, but I don't enjoy it as much as giving somebody a little bit of something that's going to help them make that film, finish that project, you know, get a suit for an interview, for God's sake. Like, we forget how important it is what you wear, how you're presenting yourself, you know, getting the eyeglasses that you need so you can see the screen across from you. So give a little bit back, give the first opportunity to people of color. If somebody's almost there, but they need a little bit of help, put that aside. Like, I schedule Zooms, like I'll put it out on Twitter because that's where I have most of the people that follow me. Say like, hey, I'm going to be on break from this day to this day. Who wants to schedule 30 minutes? Let's chat. Who wants to meet for coffee? Let's do that. Like, open yourself up to help people. And then of course, not everybody can be helped because some people like don't want to be helped, or they're too proud, or they're just not ready. It's like, have that understanding of, just because this person is not ready right now doesn't mean that in a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years, this person is not going to be ready. But make it a priority so it doesn't seem like you're pandering, but like, this is really how you live your life. This is really the work that you do. So it doesn't seem like some oddity that you're looking at somebody's resume and they happen to be Black or brown. You know, you really are making that effort, and you do that all the time consistently, and then just pay it forward. Honestly, it's just magical when you pay it forward and somebody sends you this thank you email. Like, I live for those, not because I want to be thanked all the time, but it just feels good to do something good for people. Like, it honestly, like, it gives me like a glow, like, oh my God, this coffee really helped somebody. This notebook, like, who would have thunk they wanted a new journal, and just like totally made their day. It feels so damn good. Like, if you haven't done it, I highly suggest you do it, especially when you do it with people that it really is going to make a huge difference in their career and their life, because then they're going to pay it forward, and you've created like this awesome chain of, you know, other people giving back.
Yes, all of these reasons are why we were human, and we're and I think a lot of people forget about that, especially when there's like green stuff flashed in front of them. Thank you guys for answering my questions and tolerating me going off topic once or twice. Rebecca?
I really want to bring out what Javiera said about thoughtful leadership challenging, and also Dark Shichi about imposter syndrome and feeling like you're not enough. That is something that just resonates. And the question that I asked Ana Lydia, like, your whole work is about drawing from your cultural experiences. So I know that for a lot of us, and I think we know that there's usually somebody in our field that is used to being the only X in the room. And I love that question. One of my favorite ones is, what do you wish people knew about your work? Go ahead.
So I'll take that one. So when I saw that this question was on the list, I was like, man, what do I really wish? So like, I really thought about it. It took like a whole day of me just going like, I don't know, because like I talk so much that it's like during my streams, it's me talking most of the time. The gameplay is in the background. So what I wish people understood about my work is I am the product. I am the producer, the creator, the graphic artist, the promoter, the social media manager, the community manager, sometimes the mod, but thankfully I have wonderful, awesome friends who mod and help me, and I thank them after every stream because they're awesome. But it's like, you know, I have to do this. You can get help from other people, but this is what I do. This isn't a hobby for me. This is me creating this job for me because I am tired of debasing myself for a corporation, for the man, just because you're supposed to. Like, I don't want my value to be intrinsically connected to how hard I can work, how long I can work, who do I have to step over to get to where, no, none of that. And so it's like, this is what I do. If I'm not streaming, I'm hopefully relaxing. If I'm not relaxing, I'm editing clips, I'm making graphics, I am finding some way to make my stream better. I am trying to find a way that's a nicer way to say, hey, give me your money, please. I want to get more stream stuff. I want the fancier lights and the better monitors. I need a graphic card, like stuff like that. You know, I'm constantly trying to find a way to do what I need to do, what I love to do, and make you care about it. Because at the end of the day, if they don't care, they ain't gonna show up. So I want you to take all of what I just said and understand that Twitch takes 50% of any money I make on their platform off the top of that. That's what I want people to understand. 50% of my work is claimed by someone else just to show other people my work. That's what I wanted people to know. And if you're like a bigger streamer, sometimes you can get 75% because you're worth more to a corporation. Me, like I get a check from Twitch. It's great. It's really helps because this is my job. I do this every day, you know, like I'm not afraid to say that I've worked in the industry since I've worked since I was 16. Okay. So let me say that I put in my time, I pay my taxes, I pay my bills. The person who makes sure the roof is over my head at the end of the day is me, you know? So it's just like 50% of my work and it doesn't matter, you know? And so I want people to understand, like, they're streaming as a hobby, they're streaming as a living. This is my living. This is what I do. This is what I want to go on and create something bigger and better. This is what I want to use to show other little people, little creatures, little humans, that if it's something you love, you can do it. Like, come hell or high water, you can do it, and I want to help you do it.
That's real.
Yeah, that's what I got.
I really do want folks to also sit with that, and also hello to like the 40 years that we were having. Yeah. Who else wants to go next?
I can go next. So I mentioned earlier, I work on accessibility. That's like super vague. There's a lot of specifics that go into that. So what I want people to know about my work is that it's not just about adding accessibility options to like websites and products. I see lots of stuff out there that's like accessibility for people who are blind. There are more people with different disabilities. It's not just screen readers that are used. And yeah, it's more about removing barriers. And so when it comes to designing, it's about making sure there are no barriers from the start, if you know that's an option. But like if you join a project after it started, you know, it's about finding those possible problem areas and getting rid of them, coming up with different ways to tackle those issues. And it's about inclusion work. So you want people, as many people as possible, to use these products and enjoy them, you know? I want to share that Microsoft has a great set of examples that show how designing inclusively can benefit pretty much everyone. So there's people with permanent disabilities. So you can design, I mean, everyone should be designing for them. There's also people with temporary disabilities. Like for example, if you break an arm, you have one arm to use maybe. There's also another example they have, which is that it could be situational. So let's say you need to get into a building. You can't pull or push a door. You know, there's like buttons sometimes that you should often see, which you push and it opens the door for you. It may not always be for people with permanent disabilities. Let's say you're just like carrying lots of stuff, you know? So it really does benefit everyone depending on where you are. One of my favorite designs is really just having captions on almost everything I use, because I like to watch stuff on my phone at night when people are sleeping. So I don't want to wake them up with the noise, so I just read the captions when I'm hearing, or not hearing, watching people talk. So yeah, that's what I wish people knew. It's more about designing for everyone in, different situations.
Perfect. Oh, I love it. Ana Lydia, did you have anything about what you wish folks knew about your work?
That is Latino creatives and Latino filmmakers, the immediate thought is, so your work is for Latinos and it's only for Latinos and nobody else can relate to your work, which is, it's false. My work is for everyone. Just because I have a Latina lead actress, it doesn't mean you can't relate to it because you're not Latina. I mean, we don't do that when we're looking at at a film that has a white actress, where we don't say like, oh my God, I can't relate because the actress is white. So why can't people relate to an actress that happens to be Latina or that happens to be brown? Is my work, although it's created by me and it's something that I'm passionate about, it doesn't matter if nobody sees it. So if nobody sees my work, nobody reviews my work, it can be like my magnum opus, and it doesn't matter to anyone but me. But when I create because I want other people to see the beauty of our culture, the beauty of our people, that our stories are relatable to everyone. Just because we're Latino doesn't mean you're not going to be able to identify with the struggle of my lead actress. That it's something that is literally thrown on every Latino creative. It's like, oh, well, it's not relatable to anyone. It's just a Latino thing. And just a Latino thing is so heavy-handed because we are the #1 audience at the box office. Like, no movie is successful unless we go see it. That's period, end of story. And we're talking like all movies. We're talking like the Marvels, we're talking of Disney movies, like all these movies that have different main characters of different backgrounds. They are successful because Latinos go see those movies. So it would be lovely if the same Latinos and other people saw my movies, because my movie, my work, my stuff, whatever you want to call it, it's not just for Latinos. It happens to have Latinos in the forefront, and I happen to be Latina, but the struggles and the storylines that I write about and I definitely want to work on are those things that are relatable to the mass consumer market. And ideally, more people will realize that Latinos like myself that want to create like those mass movie appeal, like those movies that appeal to mass audiences, we're out there. And there's also, other creatives that want a very niche product or a very niche film. That's not me. I want my stuff to be seen by everyone. Some people think it's a bad thing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm an artist, but I want my stuff to be seen. That's probably the most important thing that I want to put out there.
Money doesn't lie. I mean, that's incredibly powerful. Javiera.
The thing that I want everyone to know about my work is that anyone can do it. And that is the one thing that has like really fueled my energy, where I am working on average 60 to 70 hours a week between my two jobs. But then on top of that, I am still doing another 5 to 10 hours a week of mentoring with other women who are trying to get in the game industry. And one of them just got her first job. And I think it's so, there have been so many barriers put into place to make us feel like we have to go to someone else for the answers, or we need a degree, or we need that. It's like, you need to like cultivate your relationships with people, and you need to be clear about what you need, about where you are, about what you're about the things that you are wanting to work on. That's the thing that I really want people to know about my job as a producer, is like production is about caring for the people who are doing the work in game development and making sure that the tools and processes that they are using are serving the team, and that it's not the other way around where people are just bending over backwards for arbitrary process and arbitrary rules. From January to April of this year, when I was looking for a job, I spoke to over 100 producers. And the thing that I learned from speaking to so many producers across all levels of AAA were that they also were struggling with problems that I actually felt I had a very clear, actionable strategy to approach. And so anyone can do my job. Like anyone in the chat, if you dream about working in the game industry and you have the tenacity to be organized and clear and intentional, like please think about pursuing a career in production. We need more women, we need more gender nonconforming people in production specifically, because this is the discipline that is helping to define what is acceptable in the process of making a game.
That's beautiful. And also knowing that the bar of entry is like, they keep it just high enough to make folks think that they have to have a degree. And just like full disclosure, you don't need a degree to work in like quality assurance, for example, like QA. And that's not to diminish that title by any means, but it's more to say like folks can do it, you know. With that being said, this kind of goes hand in hand, and some of you have sort of spoken about it, but what are some successful initiatives or best practices you've been able to implement in your own career to further the visibility of Latinx? And I think I'm going to call Ana Lydia on this first, just because this is such a like in line with her work.
I think the most important thing is to give everybody a chance. Make sure that you cast the net as wide as you possibly can. Go through your networks, but also go to the places where Latinos will be at. So for example, I think that we outnumber most other cultures and races on Facebook, but we're not as active on Twitter. So while I will definitely put something on Twitter, I know that I have to do more outreach on Facebook where there's more Latinos, and I'll post it in, all these different groups, because that's going to be the best way to get as many resumes as possible. Also, obviously, you go through your friends, you go through previous, productions, you go through all the crew list, and, call all the amazing people that you worked with before as well. You make your top pile of, people of color first. I always review, this is totally public, always review people of color resumes first. And if I do not have like a top 1, top 3, top 5, resumes that are people of color or Latinos, if I can tell that they're, because, I have, my last name is Monaco, so nobody would know I'm Latina unless I put it on my resume, right? So I tend to look at people's IMDb's, I look at people's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I see what they put on there as well. Like I said, I will interview anyone of color first and foremost, and then from there, I'll go down the list to women, and then from there, all men. It's really hard to know if it's gender non-conforming, if, somebody's gay or trans or bi. I mean, there's really, unless somebody puts it in their bio, and usually people would put that on Instagram or on Twitter, there really is no way to do it. And legally, I'm not allowed to just say, I just want Latinos. I can't do that. And I can't just hire Latinos. What I can do legally is look at their resumes first. And if there's a resume, like I've said before, that is right there, like this specific person, she had a bunch of stuff on her resume and it wasn't focused. And at least in the film industry, and even in the PR industry, resume has to be focused. So if you're a cinematographer, we want to see that you were a camera PA, you were a first AC, second AC, or whatever, and then you made it all the way up to to cinematographer. We don't want to see like a director and then a writer and then cinematographer. It's just very confusing. So if there's a resume that looks like, oh, it could be just there, I make it a point to call people later and let them know, like, hey, do you want some tips on your resume? Because you were right there. Make it a point to, have coffee dates with people, to engage with any Latinos that reach out to you. Obviously, if they're not rude and they're not crossing the line. Like if any Latino reaches out to me and they're like, Anna Lydia, I have a few questions. Like not production until mid-November. And I will let them know, like right now, I really don't have more than 10 minutes. If you need more than 10 minutes of my time, let's schedule time in November now, like 30 minutes, an hour coffee date. Like, don't say no, like open yourself up, because you just never know. And then obviously, if you guys go through my Twitter feed, any advice, any type of jobs that I think are great, I post them on there as well. That I get nothing out of it other than hopefully somebody of color will see it. Hopefully they'll apply, and hopefully they'll make me really happy and get that job if I know of anything. And then obviously in the film industry, the problem is you don't get feedback. I don't know in the gaming industry if you get feedback before you get fired, but in the film industry you get fired, and the way you get fired is you're not on the call sheet the next day. It's not as public as they make it out to on the Hollywood Reporter, like an actor got fired. I mean, that's really public. But most of the time, like regular crew, you just don't get called back the next day. You're not on the call sheet. So if there's a problem that, I think this person can possibly fix it the next time around, I will try to tell them, why don't you do this? Why don't you try this? Because nobody in the film industry has a time to pretty much give advice. So that's why you see a lot of people don't work consistently. Or if they do, they never work with the same crew over and over again, because nobody's giving them tips at all. So, there's what the law allows. Obviously, we can't just say we're just hiring Latinos. That's against the law. And then there's like, what can I do to elevate, Latinos or people of color or women and make those efforts? So at least I look at all those resumes first. Doesn't mean I'm going to hire them. They might not be ready. If somebody's right there on the edge of it, then I will definitely call them up and be like, hey, do you want a coffee? Let me tell you about your resume, what you can do. So there's ways of helping people without just hiring specifically just Latinos, because you can get in major trouble by doing that as well.
That's real.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else like to step up to this question?
I want to jump in since Twitter was mentioned.
Ooh, do it.
So I have a list on Twitter I've been growing for a while. It's called Latinx and VR and AR, so virtual reality and augmented reality. I made it a while ago because I felt kind of lonely. I didn't know many people who looked like me, and like I know we exist. So I made it to show people like we're out here and to see what we're working on, what we do. And I invite people who identify as Latinx in this area to join the list. Let me know, I'll add them. I call it a success because I've seen people tweet about it and have gotten DMs from people letting me know they referenced it to find folks to reach out to for opportunities. So pretty proud of it. It's not huge, but it exists. I'll tweet it later and pin it, make a new fresh pin. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, VR is small already, and when you are, BIPOC, it can feel even tinier. So that's great.
That's why when I met you, I was like,
yeah,
really awesome.
Met you through Eva, who's also in the chat, which is really cool.
Hi, Eva.
Hey, Eva. Okay. Anybody else want to answer this question before we move on? Okay. All right. These two sort of go hand in hand. So what did you know, we're kind of really close to the end of our questions, at least from our own session, but who has opened doors for you, and what advice would you give to Latinx community of all levels who are trying to be where you are? So who's opened doors for you, and what sort of advice would you give to somebody who is trying to be where you are right now?
I'll take that one. I've been looking forward to this answer. So for who has opened doors for you, who are your mentors? Like for me personally, I'm always going to say the name Benicia Gonzalez. She is a woman who I very much look up to. She works for Stride PR. And so before that, she was like just a really good friend. We worked at a convention together. We got to talking and we were like, we both kind of like to handle business and get that money. And from there, just the nuggets of truth that she has provided me with all of her experience in journalism and PR work and social media engagement and things like that. Like, she is like always the person that I'm like, hey, I'm not sure about this. What do you think? And someone who I can always talk to about like content creation, media and stuff, but also like, homegirl stuff. So it's like we were able to very much find that line of this is work, this is, friendship. And that's like very important to differentiate because you are going to meet some people who you work with who you want friendship, like like can we hang out, I really like you, can we, stuff like that, and just finding that line. But also I do credit Black Girl Gamers because I've gotten like nuggets of truth from all different women on that site, in that group, in that Discord, of just like ways that I can not just better myself as a content creator, but how I can better myself, period. And that comes with a lot of experience collectively that the group has. And for me, like what advice I would give to the Latinx communities who are trying to get to the level where I am now, because like, I don't feel like I'm at any level particularly, like I'm not quote unquote a small streamer anymore, but I'm not a huge streamer anymore. So I'm in that middle ground of like, so like the advice, I was like, I wanted to be like, can I curse or is that a no-go? Like, that was a question that I should have asked. But like the main thing is like, if I could say it stronger, I would turn off your view counter. Like, I don't know how many people I like encounter, whether they're just started streaming, they've been streaming for years, and they talk about how much stress looking at that number gives. And it's just like, turn it off. Just turn it all the way off, because if that's what's stressing you out, you don't want that. But also, like if your content is good, if you are enjoying yourself, if you're engaging even that one person in your chat, like people will come. I don't know how many streamers I've gone into their streams and like I do with like a hi, an emoji, something. And it's just like, do they even care that I'm here? So if it doesn't feel like you care that I'm here at your stream, why would I care? So if you're focusing on the numbers and stuff, it can really mess with your head and really start to have you focusing on something that's very, in my opinion, superficial. Like there is something to be said about having those numbers so that you can get those opportunities that, aren't readily available for people who look like any of us, but treat every stream like an event and do fun events just because you feel like it. Sometimes I just get a bunch of my friends and I'll post on Twitter like, hey, who wants to play Among Us? And like, just set up an event. Like I went in to an event that the Geechee Gamer hosted, and I was able to play with X Mira Mira and Mercedes and Variety Princess, and these are people who I've seen streams and like they're racking up like 50, 100 viewers per stream, and I'm like, they're people. They just know how to handle their business. So that's kind of like the advice I would give.
That's some pretty solid advice, because I think all too often folks get caught up in the numbers and it kind of ruins the fun. I think, yeah. Anyone else have some advice?
I would say that, well, first I want to like call out like 3 names that have like fundamentally changed my life with the support that they gave. And for some of them, that support looked like just a phone call for 30 minutes. And then other times that support was meeting with me for 30 minutes once a month. And those are like really relatively like small time chunks, but they were sort of check-in points for me that that like told me that I mattered And that's significant because before that, it was always just like 8 years of asking to try to get into games, and to have these people actually like take time out of their schedule, and they're all insanely busy, and they I'll put their Twitter links in the chat, and they all hold senior positions at their companies, but each of them were directly responsible for me, and I have like a life debt to them. The advice that I would tell any like Latinx trying to get into games is don't give up. Like don't give up. And that we need you so desperately. That what Ana Lydia was saying earlier about how like profound and impactful the stories that she's helping to get told are, because they are being told by Latinx voices. Games desperately need Latinx creators behind them. And so just get organized and ask for help. That's my 2 pieces of advice. Get organized, ask for help. If you're on this stream watching and you're interested in trying to get into games, like send me a tweet. My DMs are open. I will make time for you. And I would counsel everyone watching that if you are in a position to share any bit of advice about getting into games, make time. Don't say you're too busy. It might look like pulling out 30 minutes out of your schedule once a month to someone. 30 minutes is nothing to you. We spend 30 minutes scrolling through Instagram. You could spend that 30 minutes just giving someone like the smallest amount of external validation that they are worthwhile, and that their potential does not have to continue to be defined by the opportunities that were given to them.
Oh, what a beautiful answer. Does anybody else have something they want to contribute before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I want to. So like literally all of management at High Fidelity, the executives, they've opened like a bunch of doors for me. They never underestimated me, and all these years they have like helped me grow by teaching me new things, encouraging me to take on new challenges and new areas, try new types of jobs. Like I feel so lucky to work with them. They're like the greatest people. I'm just so thankful for them believing I can take on these new challenges and like learn and succeed. Like if it weren't for them, I don't know where I'd be. So shout out to Ryan Karp, Phil Rosedale, Ashley Harris for, not just opening doors, but like letting me know there are doors that I didn't know existed. Like I was asked, what do you want to do in your career? Like, I was like, I actually don't know what I can do. Like, I don't know. And they taught me so much of like what's out there. So they let me know what doors existed. They opened doors and they kind of like pushed me to the doors, like I mentioned earlier when I had that imposter syndrome. So I am so grateful for them for encouraging me to do that. And so my advice is for anyone who gets nervous like me about trying new things is to just do the thing, even if it's terrifying. Like, I think the worst thing that could happen is you learn you're not good at it, or maybe it's just something you don't enjoy. And then you move on, like you learn something about yourself and you grow. So believe in your ability to grow and evolve, because I guarantee you, there are people out there who believe in your strength and ability to grow as well. I believe in you. So yeah, just do it. Do the thing.
Awesome. Okay, as we move on to the next question, this will be our last question for the night, and then Jen will take it away with future GeekGirlCon stuff. But if you could please reintroduce yourself and also where people can find your work. Anybody can go.
I can go since I went last. So I am Jazmin Cano. You can find out about what I'm working on Twitter, and my handle is JC_3D. You can also check out my blog posts on accessibility over at highfidelity.com/blog. And high fidelity is like HIGH. I don't know if you caught that. It says my internet's unstable.
I caught all of that. You froze for like a second, but we heard all of it.
Cool.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jazmin.
I'll go next. My name is Lydia Ochoa-Monaco. You can find me anywhere on social media under Lydia Monaco, but I live mostly on Twitter. I also have a website. It's Lydia Monaco or analydia.com. And my email is the same thing, analydiamonaco@gmail.com. So I'm very, very easy to find. And again, if I am busy and people want to meet up or, just a quick call or what have you, and I'm not available, then I will let you know. I'll be available on this week if you want to reserve some time. Happy to meet people in person, happy to put Zooms together or calls. We need more Latinas in film. We need more US Latinas in film, meaning not international talent, but US born and raised Latinos, because only we know how to tell our own stories. So please, please, please just learn the craft before, because it is a craft, and do it. Just do it and let me know how I can support you, because I will.
I will go next, I guess. I am Dark Shichi, also known as Tatiana, but no one calls me that anymore, really. You can find me on Twitch, where I stream every day except for Sundays, because I gotta have at least one day off, and if there's something in between, I'll let you guys know on my Twitter. I also have Instagram, Snapchat, all of that. I have a Discord community that I regularly invite people in. I help with numerous things like content creation. There's some artists and poetry in there, and just a really good hub for getting information out, especially if you're a streamer, but especially if you're looking for some kind of job within gaming, brand mentorship, things like that. So yeah.
And my name is Javiera Cordero. My pronouns are she, her. And I work as a producer and business developer in the game industry. And you can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn.
That was so good. It was nice to be on the other end and hear the answers and be like, yes, yes, imposter syndrome. Yes, oh, yes, that. Because usually I'm the one talking and it's horrible. So this was awesome. Thank you, Rabecca. You did so amazing on this panel. Thank you. So as for Geek Girl, it's October, guys. And guess what? That means it's the ultimate geek season for me anyways, and for Alyssa. So we came up with an awesome October for Geek Girl. So the next one is going to be on the 7th, and it's Let's Play Phasmophobia, which sounds amazing. It's supposed to be super scary. I like cute scary. I'm gonna check it out. So, and then on the 12th is the Dias de los Muertos Sugar Skull workshop with myself, and we're still taking volunteers. So if any of you guys want to join, or any human or any animal, because I would love to see a chihuahua making a skull, get a hold of us and we'll totally put it out there. So again, October 12th is Sugar Skulls, and the 7th, which is this Thursday, is to play Phasmophobia. Yes, that was a lot. Thank you so much, this panel of such beautiful people. Thank you, gosh, thank you. It was good to be back in like culture again and feel it and feel the love and all the talking. Because
so much.
I had to add one little funny joke. My husband, who is white, is in the other room, and he came in here and he was like, "Are we back in Texas? It sounds like you're with your sisters again." I was like, "That's awesome." No, I'm just loud, but thank you all so much for coming and joining and being part of GeekGirlCon, and I hope y'all all have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Happy Latinx Heritage Month. Bye, y'all. Thank you for coming.